And we are returning from closed at 7:49. So we'll move on to the approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the December 16th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
I have a question. I fixed it. Okay. It's fixed. Never mind.
Done.
So moved. Second.
Yes, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the December 16th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. We'll move on to public comment. We do have public comments tonight, so I'm going to read the guidelines. Good evening and welcome. Public comment is a time for the community to address the board with comments and questions. Each community member addressing the board has 5 minutes. Once you have been notified your time is up, kindly step away from the podium. Public comment will be for 30 minutes with no more than each subject lasting 20 minutes. Please understand this is not an engagement time. The board will consider your comments in its decision. For those comments or questions requiring a follow-up response, the board president or superintendent will follow up. Mark Forsley, subject is digital signboard.
Thank you for letting me talk real quick. First, I never realized this was all happening tonight. My neighbor called and I looked it up. And first thing I want to do is compliment the person who put all this stuff together. A group of people that put it all together. They did their homework. They did a really nice job. Basically, is many of you may or may not know, I work with Jerry Hackbrush. My dad worked with Hack, her husband. I knew him before I knew Jerry through my dad. So I've known the family before they passed away for a number of years. Super family. They were both a very nice couple. But I don't think this is what they wanted the money to be spent for. And based on what was written here on the website, it basically says Hackbrush Family Trust to be used for educational purposes as determined by the Hackbrush family and the trustees. And then a little further, it again benefit the educational needs of Westmont High School. In fact, it said trust to Westmont High School and to benefit the needs of Westmont High School. There's a fine line. I can see where this benefits Westmont High School. I understand that, but I don't think this is what I don't think this is what they wanted. From when I heard about the donation, it was my understanding that it was suggested that they would use the money to improve the science department at the high school and whatever you would need, lab, books, technology nowadays. Back then it was the books, but all use the money for that. And then when you were going for the referendum, that was one of the needs, was to improve the high school science department. So I would have thought that's where the money would have gone and not here. And again, you may or may not know, I did teach in the district and I was the AD at the junior high. And in 2001, we got a scoreboard for the gym. And what I did is went out to the community and we got donations. And at the time it was LaSalle Bank and our PTO from the gym. Now granted, that was a scoreboard back in 2001. It's not $47,000, but it was, at the time, it was a lot of money. And we were able to acquire some donations from different organizations. And I looked at your list of people that you might be able to use, and there might be some of those that would donate. The Expressions Dance, the Aspiration Dance, the church, Oakwood Homeowners, maybe they would donate money. I don't know if you looked at that or not. That would be my suggestion, is to look at that, because I don't know that the trust was designed for something like this. I read it as the educational needs of the students at the high school. And to me, since she was a science teacher, I think that's what would belong. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Keith Nega on the sign.
I have to agree with Mark on a lot of that. And I think the sign, granted, digital would be nice, but for the cost, I believe at the last meeting it was supposed to be $35,000. They said 30 to 35,000. Now we're up to 47,000. 30% increase at least. And I'm thinking, how does that happen in a month? I don't know. something wasn't done right or whatnot, but I think it needs to, I don't see how it's gonna benefit a kid. 9 months of the year, you get 300, 400 kids coming to the school, and how many people drive through Oakland besides the people that live in there? Nowadays, everything's on social media. I mean, it's on the websites and all that other stuff, and if you're involved in it, you know what's gonna be going on. It's that you're not gonna be pulling people in off the street, you know, and I think it needs to be spent more on the kids. And I would like to see it in the science. I talked to a science teacher a while ago, and they've gotten nothing. And she was a science teacher. So you think you'd want to at least throw a little money towards them and help the kids out that way. So that's all I'd like to say. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And Judy Wilson, subject is an agenda item.
I'm here to question the sign as well, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm sure you've all read the Hackbrush Trust, and the language of the trust states that the funds be used for educational purposes, while other language further down in the trust reads, the board is authorized to receive donations for use in whatever the board chooses. Is this sign that you want considered a restricted gift? The Internal Revenue Code says restricted gifts are restricted for their purpose. Please tell me how an electronic sign will benefit the students' education. Putting Student of the Month for 9 months out of the year, where is the educational component in that? I think you'll do what you want and probably vote for a sign tonight. But the sad thing is, not one penny has been spent on science, and Jerry Hackbrush loved science. She taught for 27 years and instilled the love of science in her students. Last year, when there was a referendum, it was stated that asbestos was in the science lab tables. Is it okay to get an electronic sign first and worry about the student safety later? I'm really sorry none of you got to know Jerry, but I can tell you the education of the students would come first before a sign. Last year, I called your attention to unused TIF funds that were forgotten, and I was told the superintendent or the president would get back to me. But that never happened, but I am expecting someone to get back to me on this subject. There's been a level of mistrust among the public with the school board. I've talked to several people. I've talked to 1 or 2 board members, and putting a sign before the student's education is not the way to earn trust within the community. I hope that you'll all reconsider this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and moving into the consent agenda, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Number 1, donation for the Westmont High School and Westmont Junior High Schools from Downers Grove Panthers cheerleading program. This is the donation of mats from the Downers Grove Panthers cheerleading program.
They're in great shape. They've already been looked at. They named Downers Grove Panthers cheerleading program, had 8 left over since they bought even newer mats. And when the high school and the junior high looked at them, they said, wow, they know how great this would be because they are in better shape than what we have now.
Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Reardon,
Yes.
Mr. Avia,
Yes.
Mr. Oren,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
Dr. Zuber,
Yes.
Ms. Conover,
Yes.
Ms. Mill.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. So now we're moving into the information and discussion. If we can review the budget and staffing timeline. So this is a normal process that kicks off in January every year. And so what we've got on the, budget and staffing timeline within the content shows kind of what happens, right? So in January now, we are refining our budgets. We're talking about contracts because then they help inform the budget process. In February, the administration team really kind of works through that budget process. and is working through staffing discussions so that in March, we make a final determination on staffing discussions. So this is one of those pieces where we are governing the process. We're not involved in the process. We're not making the decisions on staffing. However, in March, those staffing decisions do come to us for approval, and we approve them because the experts have made those decisions. But that's like the end result. A 3-month process is that we'll see, well, it's not just a piece of it, but in March, that staffing needs to be approved by the board. Whatever staffing decisions are made need to be approved by the board to meet March 26th is the deadline? Yeah. Regular deadline, March 26th, when we have to let staff know if we're retaining them or not. So that is our hard deadline that's not set by us, that we have to meet for the staffing, which means that all of these other budgetary things need to be solved before then. And so that is kind of the process that we're entering into here. Any questions, comments? Any information from admin you guys wanna?
So the district utilizes PMA, which is our financial forecasting team. Been working with them a little bit, trying to understand what the long-term implications are for staffing, not just a one-time piece or whatever. So that's something we're reviewing at this time. Dr. Balderman and I will meet more so like we have been doing and just kind of looking over the needs versus what student needs are, the district needs are, and what we can afford and accommodate.
And can I ask, so we just kind of went through the 2025 budget and public hearing, and just like educating us and then the community. Are we considering making those decisions with our end of the year budget, or and how you make decisions, what we can, what we like to do, where we are with hiring or using that budget that was passed at the end of the year 2025?
We do. We look at the hardest part that took up a lot of my winter break was the look back for the last couple of years, because looking at it over the last several years, you can see the differences, including for our prior year, and watching it reflect based on what has been staffed, any sort of economic changes that have occurred, CPI, COVID dollars. So that all goes into this. We're trying to do something with it.
And that process, and hearing about it through the committees here, a little bit more detail about those decisions and how we're considering things.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily in this larger board meeting, and people that are interested.
Correct, yes. We're, it's a heavy lift. So right now there's narratives being put together with each program, as well as how much each program costs and the finding out the why behind it, rather than just saying, oh, this is how it should be. I mean, there should be a why. That's kind of what we're looking at right now.
We're using it as our guidelines. We have a strong fund balance. We want to create a budget that's a balanced budget or as close to that as possible. So not put that in jeopardy. And then prioritizing student learning and making sure we keep the quality of the district at the level that it's at. And all the components that Ron talked about for the forecasting. But our commitment is to come in as close to balanced budget, if not balanced budget, as possible, while still maintaining excellence in education. And we think we're in a position to do that. It's going to mean there may be a few people are retiring that we do not replace, but that's preferable to having to release people who are good employees in the district. So we anticipate some, and we made some last year too, some reductions in overall staff for the upcoming school year, but nothing dramatic, but some of those cuts are necessary.
And so once again, to really, for people that are involved in want to understand the why, a lot of that comes in the committees. as we discuss, and even more so, I'll speak for myself in this way, that I've been asking for. And there's scenarios and things that we'll discuss, that we can discuss with our community, but scenarios for cuts and things like that for as we prepare.
And there's give and take in those committee meetings.
Yeah, it's not as formal, so.
Yeah.
There's back and forth.
Got a question for you two about the timeline itself. Like there's a lot to do in a given school year, in a given calendar year. There's a lot that goes on. In this timeline, I guess I'll get to my question is the way this is structured feel comfortable in terms? I look at this and I see so much front loading in January and February, so much heavy lifting to be done. And when I look at the agenda items that are on there, and the timeline that's on there, it's like you have this March 26th deadline, and you have all this work that happens in January and February, and you're in it now, so there's no changing it now, right? But thinking about the next lap around the sun here, is there so much going on in the latter half of the year that there's just no room for some of this to maybe be started a month earlier, or am I? What is your thought on that?
Well, to be frank, being in the first year here, some of this is kind of what the trends have been. I expect a well-oiled machine in the next year after, where this is going to be spread out a lot more. We'll anticipate more with the staffing. We'll see trends over time. We look at data and we find out why, rather than just do whatever.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that has happened. What I'm saying though is that my preference, just like you said, Carlos, we'd have a continual pulse on everything.
Yeah.
And that's what we're working on.
Yeah.
So one of the main drivers is if we don't notify people in March, then we have them, whether we want them or not. We have to give them.
Right.
So
Right.
that's part of what's driving us to figure out who can we keep, what the budget is, and then notifying people by that March deadline.
Yeah, Carlos is talking about, should we start this process earlier in the school year, essentially?
Yeah, especially because when I look at the agenda items for January and February, it's a lot of information gathering, right? And can some of that start a little bit sooner? It just feels super compressed. Now, if you tell me, look, this is how we run this is how you run a school district, this is how most school districts are run, and this is pretty standard, and we're professionals, and this is how we do things, I'm good with that answer. I'm asking the question because to me, it's giving me palpitations just looking at it, but that's just me, I don't know.
It's standard, but I don't like standard.
Is this something that's always ongoing and it's just formalized now?
Yeah.
It's kind of like what I would get from you.
A business manager should be monitoring the current budget while building the future budget at the same time. It's like trying to build a plane while you're flying it.
Mhm.
Except that you're supposed to land it. So.
Okay, so if there's not any other comments or questions, just a couple of points on this, that we have our finance committee meeting in March. That is like the opportunity to really kind of get into more of the nitty-gritty stuff and finalize recommendations. The next action item that will come to the board is that end of March action item where we approve the final staffing. So again, the work of that staffing is done by determining that staffing is done correctly by the administration and by the buildings. What staff are we gonna retain or not retain, or all that chessboard is done by those folks. The next opportunity to really talk through it is in the finance committee meeting around March. I don't have that date exactly. And then we will see the final kind of action item in the last March meeting.
But there are finance and facility committee meetings happening before that. Is that correct?
February 10 is the next.
February 10th is the next Friday. Okay.
Finance and facilities meeting, yeah.
And we'll make sure the board is still in the loop, and if we do anything additional, we will.
We typically have just a finance committee meeting, not a finance and facilities committee meeting to discuss this in March.
Yeah.
I see. Thanks for the clarification.
With the finance, facility and finance, a lot to talk about with that. So,
Yeah.
which we'll get into.
Okay. Next item, finance and facilities recap. So if you guys would recap kind of the finance and facilities meetings, the previous ones, and then this is our opportunity as a board to give, the admin is looking for some input on what we would like to see on the agenda for the next finance and facilities meeting, which is that February 10th meeting. Yeah, so can you give us the update?
Absolutely. So the October 28th meeting, we discussed that the administration should be working on essentially 3 plans. We were looking at if a referendum were to ever have come to fruition, if some funding came out of this, or if nothing came out of fruition. The plans at the time were based on the health, life, safety pieces and the need. A lot of it was Mr. Joe Smith, who did a fantastic job looking at what was needed across the buildings. There was $11 million of working cash funding bonds, which would kick in May 1st of 2027, as well as life safety bonds that you can utilize once you have a health life safety survey. The district is eligible for up to $7 million. And then that's kind of how these plans were built. So this is what Joe provided. If you look at the event of a major renovation, he stated it was like a piecemeal. And that's the thing I think people around here we'd like to discuss is there is a plan of certain things and needs and wants and whatnot. Not everything is set in stone. Things can be piecemeal. I'd like to call it value engineering, right? It's all about the goals, the community, the staff, what the needs are for kids. So the biggest pieces with some of these renovations were the necessities across the schools and renovating, the science labs getting an upgrade, and anything of, there may still be some short-term planning. Not everything's going to be completed, but that has to do with the district planning going forward and saving, putting aside for funding. This plan, if you picked on every piece that they were looking at, that Joe prioritized, it was about $59.9 million. It doesn't mean that's what the cost would be. All it means is that those were the items that he really thought were valuable and the administration did as well. Again, that's a number that may not even be that number. It's just kind of it was like a play by how it would happen if this were to correct. If there was some funding, we look at the necessities of each building, including the parking lots that apparently they've caused quite a bit of issues. And that cost was about $37.5. So you look at an alternate funding, such as the working cash that we discussed, and the health, life, safety, as well as maybe additional dollars, maybe passing partial voting. And then if neither came to fruition, there were items that were absolutely necessary projects, and that was based more on priority. Essentially, health, life, safety, and working cash bonds would be included. This would be more of 22.6 million. It's more of here's what we're not even going to tackle all of our health, life, safety pieces, but we could tackle as much as we could to keep afloat. Doesn't mean it's optimal when it comes to safety, but that's what we could possibly figure out. Again, the prices in the project list are reduced compared to what has been presented in the past, as there was an original list. Just because an architect and construction site recommends something doesn't mean we have to take it at full face value. That's something, again, where the district will ultimately have to make decisions. We're going to continue doing that within budgetary constraints. Again, I love the phrase value engineer because we look at what is needed versus what we're going to end up doing. And that's all about discussion and need collaboratively. It can't be just something that one person decides on. So we'd love to entertain more discussions as the district starts thinking and prioritizing what programs are needed, and tying this in eventually even with the staffing and other financial implications.
Can I add, because we are asking for board input. So we were asked to put a continuum of options together, right? And I want to be very brief about this. Let's say either there's decision of the board not to go to referendum, as an example, or referendum never passes in this district. How are we going to meet the needs of the facilities. There is the working cash money. And so the idea was, as major needs arise or to repairs, we access the working cash. That's one thing. The other thing is there's life safety. The biggest example on my radar is the roof at the high school, which is absolutely in need of repair. And life safety money could be used to address that. So, and we can go into more detail. What Joe Smith has provided is extremely detailed, in my opinion. But that's one option. So if the board says we're not going to referendum, or the community never passed a referendum, those would be the funds we would access to keep the buildings alive, kind of like patching as we go and addressing life safety needs through the life safety funds. If we were to go for a referendum, and as Ron pointed out, to do significant renovations to Miller and Manning, so keeping those existing sites, addressing some needs at the junior high, at South, and at the high school, like the science labs, then the price tag gets up to the $59 million mark, which obviously would necessitate a referendum. Now that is, if you put the life safety and the working cash money into that, that is less than we've requested from the community in the past. The other concession, just to put it out there, is I think the idea of building new on the Ty Warner site has evaporated. I'm not saying it's dead, but it's not really a viable option at this time. So we're looking more at a renovation of Miller and Manning. That's an option. So I think on the high end, it would be going to referendum again in the neighborhood of the dollars we're talking about. The details have been put in this document by Joe. It's very thorough. You could combine an ask from the community with life safety and working cash to reduce because the working cash, technically, when that comes off the books, there could be a reduction for the taxpayers, or at the very least, you could access that money. It's in the neighborhood of $8 to $9 to $10 million, depending how it's funded. And it would be no increase to the taxpayers, if that makes sense. So the one is, we move forward at an as-needed basis and access the working cash, use life safety for things that are absolutely dire, like the high school roof, or a reduced ask of the community with referendum dollars to renovate Miller and Manning and use life safety and working cash as part of that equation. And those seem to be the continuum of options.
So just to bring some clarity around like what this means in terms we can all understand, right? The bonds are our credit card bills, right? So we took out a really big loan X number of years ago and we've paid it off. We are paying off. We do that with some regularity. All districts do it with some. It's how you can get a large amount of money to be able to do things like this. So those
are usually not large scale things. Like,
they're large projects, but not like this, not like new building or renovation scale. They're the AC at the junior high was the last time that we did it. So a section of bonds is retiring, so that will essentially we are paying off a credit card, and that could be about $10 to $11 million that we could bond for again in 2027. If we were to bond for that $11 million in 2027, there's essentially no change to the taxes, right? If we let that bond remain, that credit card remain paid off, there will be a decrease in the taxes, though because we're just not paying that credit card bill, though doesn't change our needs. But it would potentially decrease the taxes. So this is one method that a lot of districts have done to get referendums passed, is actually they will pass the referendum and then let the bonds retire, because the referendum is a more solid number. It's a more specific number over the course of years. So
you're saying some districts have done a referendum where people are concerned about the tax increase, but they didn't use their credit card, and so that brought it down. So it's like not as high of a hit.
They used a mortgage instead of a credit card. So essentially the district the district turned in their credit card bill and took out a mortgage with a set payment. That for the taxpayers resulted in either a decrease or no or very minimal change. But what it showed up on their tax, except for, yes,
But then for future boards, the credit card won't always be available. The bond's 30 years, there'll always be that credit card available, which could
yes.
actually end up increasing taxes in the long run.
Correct.
Certainly, though, when you don't have the credit card, right, and emergencies happen, which is essentially where we're at. We're maxed on our credit card. So there is that. The other piece of it to understand is that a life safety bond is essentially like holy cannoli, right? You need this in order to retain the safety to a safety level where we are allowed to take out a bond. Okay, so we are allowed to borrow money above and beyond what we, in a bond format, without going to referendum. Okay, so that is but there is work that has to be done behind it, You have to say, right, so this is why it is things like roofing or plumbing or nothing fancy in a life safety. However, it is a bond that we take out that does increase the cost, okay, the taxes, without going to vote. So I want to be really clear that when we say life safety funds, those aren't funds from nowhere. They're just a bond that we need so badly that we're allowed to take it out to retain the safety of our buildings
At an additional cost to taxpayers.
at an additional cost, yes.
There's also approximately I'm giving an estimate, $1.3 million in TIF funds.
And so with the ask,
Wait,
Okay,
no, we need to clarify that. We have $1.3 million in our TIF account right now, or that is the potential amount that would be added when the TIF expires. Can we
No.
clarify that?
No, as of right now, there is, like, the village actually gives us a yearly
Mhm.
check, right? So there is money available.
Okay, and then, so that does add in, the one thing I would like to see added to this is when the TIF ends, what that 1 year uptick in our revenue is, because the way that TIFs work is that when it's frozen our property values within the TIF district for 30 years. And what they do is they give a one-time infusion when that TIF ends of those property values, like hop up 30 years. And so we will have a one-time kick up in our revenue of massive amounts, right? So what that would be as of, if the TIF ended today, what that payment would be, which is something that we can calculate with some, as probably as well as we could calculate construction costs, right? And then could also update every year so that we're taking that into consideration, right? Because that's like 2030 something, so that we could like, hey, in 2030 something, as of today, we get a $6 million. Now that's actually a bond that doesn't impact, that's not a bond, that's just.
I have a question with that also. So now I have two questions. So going, just
Mhm.
making it relevant for the TIF. Is that date set that the TIF ends?
Well, it has not been extended, so yes.
Yeah, it hasn't been extended.
So there is an ask to extend, or maybe there.
I don't know that there is still a current ask to extend.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if there's an ask that came out, then we're moving that date.
If
we
they
don't-
extend it, we would be moving, yes,
I mean,
that is something.
So I know we discussed that before, because that was one of my questions. We say, or people say, you have money, and if there could possibly be an extension, we don't have that. Then we have to wait even a longer time to get this. Going back to us, and I ask for the board, as we consider this, I guess it's been on my mind, is timing and discussion and figuring out what we would like to see a decision made, is what the community wants. Or I say we, the community, what does the community want to do? Or what do we, for a referendum, or just bare minimum, let's patch, or as we've said before, Band-Aid. Is there a certain timing you should look to say what we're going to do?
Do we want to put that on the agenda for the facilities meeting?
Just to discuss potential
discuss
times. Okay, I think that's a
yes.
good.
I don't think that's
So I
something.
think this is great. I like
Yeah.
seeing this as, these are options, but I just, contemplated that too, like, okay,
Mhm.
when will we, or when should we, or, I know that's looking at different aspects. Even if we're saying, it used to be the word we didn't say, but now we can say it a lot because we tried a lot. A referendum, is there a timing that makes sense that if you're gonna go, you need to go? We wanna go by this time or for this election. So I just wanna get that timeline and as a,
I suppose, and or the timeline for bonding,
Mhm.
because that, I mean, that's 27, that's here tomorrow practically, so we're coming up on a timeline for that as well.
because we have to ask and submit.
We, to use your analogy, we have about $10 or $11 million worth of Band-Aids, if you will. I think we all would agree, I think the community would too. It makes more sense to have a comprehensive plan that considers all revenue sources and address the needs of the district at one time. So if the will of the board and the community is to not ask for additional dollars, then that means we use the Band-Aids as needed going forward. And we address life safety issues with the money that we have available that would not increase the tax burden, the working cash. It could decrease the tax burden if we don't utilize it. But as Tim said, if it's available, once you use it, then limited availability going forward. The life safety piece is for the things, as Leah said, that are really, we must do this. Some of those things are at our doorstep, because if that roof collapses, which has happened at a local high school, quite frankly,
Yeah.
or it could damage then it's on us that we did not take action. So I think that is something but we want to do it all as part of a comprehensive plan where we look all revenue sources, all needs. All the potential needs have been outlined in Joe's plans. The buckets of money include the TIF money, which is, like we say, 1.3 currently that we could access. There's another $7 million approximately life safety, approximately $10 million. That's not going to meet all the needs. It would require more referendum dollars, potentially. If we're not building new, if we're not acquiring property, it's a significantly less of an ask of the community than in the previous two referendums. So the guidance from the board is which direction? One option is let's just keep doing business and access to working cash and life safety as needs arise. That's not a comprehensive plan. That's not strategic thinking. I don't think it's in the best interest of the district or the community. The other is the board makes a decision. We listen to the community, which we have been. The point is that maybe the renovation of the two existing sites is a possibility. We come up with numbers, which we have detailed numbers, which are going to be adjusted slightly, as Ron said. But then to ask, if you factor in life safety and working cash, would be significantly lower than the previous two asks, because we're not acquiring property, we're not building new. It's less expensive to renovate than it is to build new.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
How is the amount of the working cash bonds determined? So it says $11 million. Are there ones that are a few more years out?
Mhm.
It could also be accessed,
I think
or
our
is
total,
11 million the absolute max that we ever had?
no, I think our total is in like the 30 million, and we've done it traditionally in phases to let about $8 to $11 million retire every 5 or 6 years to give us the ability to do some of these larger projects, but not renovation. So that was how the money was structured to like initially take it out.
And if you'd like to, we can reach out to the people who do the bonds and just say, hey, look, this is
We could have Liz Hennessy do a presentation of the board if needed.
Just to talk, yeah.
She's the expert on that, has been from,
So yeah, it's just, and also it's something we've talked about before, but like, again, it's weighing. How long do you wait? Do you wait further than build up and hope our roof doesn't cave in, or plumbing doesn't give out? So it's not saying like I'm not, trying to say that in a mean way, but just, we all have weighed that. I think they've weighed it in the past and weighed, certain things like, hey, we need to do this now. We also want to leave the board something in case an emergency happens. So it's just how much leeway we can, kick the can. That's the other term we use. We'll keep going as business allows and wait 2 years to get a more substantial amount of money to use. So I think that's something we talk about too. And this is.
I guess my question is, after May 1st, 2027, when is the next working
Two
cash
rounds
bond
retiring. Yeah. Can you have that for?
available?
Get that.
Can you have that for the agenda?
Because that could also be part of this
The finance
whole,
facilities meeting.
the whole comprehensive plan. If it's only 3 more years, that's.
I don't know, we
Probably
what only, and that's what, it was part of our conversation 2 years ago. And we wait 2 more years and then 2 more years. Again, that's been a conversation, I think, of the board across the years and essentially kicking the can.
Well, but that is part of if we get no more money, right, we need to think about the next 15 years
Yeah.
of dollars, right? Of like what potential we have and what that means. So I think the retirement schedule, the working cash bonds and the rough estimate, it adjusts a little bit because it's based on how much we took and blah, blah, blah. And working cash is one of those things, those bonds was like set very arbitrarily once upon a time, X number of years ago. And it was based on, I want to say, how much debt your district had at the time,
Yeah.
right? It was like
That's true.
we have like 30 million as our max, but like Oak Park could have like 60 million because they just had, and like Lyle could have like 2 million. Like there's no rhyme or reason to the amount that districts have. It was based on like a snapshot in time.
So my question isn't about kicking the can. My question is, if the next bond is available in 2030, for example.
Yeah.
That could be something where you project out and you say the taxes are gonna level out. And,
Yeah.
if we don't use that bond because we're asking for
Yeah.
the referendum now. So it's part of a comprehensive plan.
When and how much?
Talk
Exactly
about
what I'm
those
asking for with when the TIF
schedules.
retires, right?
Yeah.
If the TIF ends today and that day that it ends, what do we get? The same thing, but with our working cash bonds, I think is a fair ask to have.
yes. So we need Ron and possibly Liz to come to that finance facilities meeting to do a comprehensive report on where we stand with working cash going forward in the future. Okay.
So what would we like the finance and facilities committee to discuss, right? We're asking for direction on the agenda for the February meeting. So the previous meeting, it was, hey, let's figure out some money, some money actual referendum. So now what do we want? What would we like the finance and the facilities committee meeting to report back to the board to make decision on?
I
Do we
think
want?
so you'll have that timeline kind of presented.
So we have a timeline. So far, what I have on the agenda is a timeline for the decisions as far as bonds are concerned, but then also referendum, because those are 2 different timelines.
Shannon, are you getting all this? Thanks.
The working cash bond retirement schedule and the TIF ending amount as of today, is however the TIF. So those are the 3 things on the agenda to discuss at the next facility. Now,
I think
it's only an hour long, so
Yeah, I know,
frankly,
that's
that is
what
a
I
lot to discuss in an hour.
Because I was gonna say with that, it's recommendation scenarios of what.
I mean, do we want to
Yeah.
ask them like, hey, discuss these things and like, then is there a clear way that you'd like us to go?
I would appreciate a recommendation, or if there's a sense of what they're discussing and hearing and learning and seeing, where they would like to see
I guess
the board go.
I don't know if there's a way, like it's an hour, but like if, maybe not a necessary decision, but for the board, if you want to do this, this is when you need to do that. Like if you want a referendum, this is when you need to do A, B, and C. If you need to go to the community, you need to do it by this time to get a decision. If you want to not go and discuss referendums right now, you don't think that's the pulse of the community, then these are the times for our bonds, and this is what you need to consider, make decisions on what we're going to do, and this is the timing for it. So kind of because it's so long, I don't know if it's a decision, a recommendation.
I think that would be, I think like the, if this, then that, from a timeline perspective on both of those is like the information to give to the committee to review, but what we need from the committee back is based on that timeline, the working cash bonds, the TIF information, how do you want the board to move with these three
I kind of feel like we haven't had this in a while. I don't know if it's like the right shape or form, but I don't know if we can. I want to hear if there's a larger forum for our community to weigh in. That's what I kind of want to hear. I don't, and I don't have that in my mind. I don't have the right answer for that, but I need that sense of
Can we
things.
ask the committee for that recommendation?
I think that it is important to let the community know about this specific committee meeting. Just there's a lot of people with interest in this topic, and so if we could have a presentation that evening and then maybe have some goals. And I'm wondering too if before then, we talk about timelines, would Joe be able to look at his list and say, we need the roof done by summer of 2027? Do we even have time to wait for a referendum to do the plumbing at Manning and the roof at the high school? Is that something that's on the table for us, or do we need to access funds before that would be a viable option?
So to your point, we'll advertise the February 10th meeting that's open to the public. And we're kind of discussing what options the board wants to at least consider. Part of that timeline would include different avenues, for instance, non-referendum and referendum. Part of the timeline would also include if the board and the community say no referendum at this time, what would it look like to do some of the necessary life safety repairs?
So I think that Joe has, and the message has been pretty consistently like, we're out of time on
This
all
had
of
to be
them,
done yesterday.
you know? And I know that we are out of time on all of them. And I think that even though we are out of time on all of them, we still have to figure out
We have to figure out what.
a prioritization of,
Totally.
right? The 22, we have to, this has to happen. This one, we're the most out of time on, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know that we're out of time on all of them, but we need to really like pull those hairs and say, because that will determine potentially on the, on the lowest one, right? No additional funds. If we're like the most out of time on all the Manning stuff, right? And that's $20 million, like we only have 11 million, is it,
Then we might have to.
we really have to split the hairs. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I've been pretty quiet in this whole discussion because my only concern when I look at what I'm seeing here, the only thing that's on my mind is it says that the bare minimum we have to do is 22.5, almost $22.6 million worth of work. And I'm assuming, to your point, like that has to get done now. All of it has to get done now. And can you prioritize this over that, or does this, because since you can't do everything at the exact same time, what has to get done first, second, and third? And this 22.5 million, I don't believe this is in Joe's mind or anyone's mind money that needs to be spent between now and 3 years from now, or 4 years from now, or 6 years from now. But between now and 1 or 2 years from now is my understanding. Otherwise, it wouldn't be on this list, I don't
It's like
think.
this summer,
I don't
next
think
summer.
so. So that being said, we have access to $18 million, and we have $22.6 million worth of immediate needs. And then there's this little bullet point here that says, additional funding to be determined. By who and when and where's it coming from? Because that's $4.5 million, which is about, I don't know, 3 months worth of salaries in this district, if I'm not mistaken. So when we say additional funding to be determined, what do we mean by that?
Well, we have cash, we have a fund balance that we could tap into. That's not preferred, but it's an option.
We can say that on here. We
That's
have to
what
say
I
it.
want the finance and
Just say it.
facilities team to come
The
back
other
with is
thing-
to tell us where that other
Yeah.
money is gonna come from.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that, because another point that I'll shut up in a second, but the other point is, we've been discussing this evening, and we tend to discuss the option of going for a referendum and not going for a referendum. But there's a third option, which is going for a referendum and not being successful, which happens to be the history of this district.
He
So,
did say it.
what's that?
He did say it.
Well, no, what we're saying is what I'm saying is, it's not about deciding whether we're going for referendum or not, in my mind. It's about deciding what we're going to do when it fails. That's what I'm concerned that we don't have a plan for when it fails. We have a plan for going for it. We have a plan for not going for it. But we don't have a plan for when it fails.
We do.
I think
We do.
it includes, and he did say, we don't go or it fails. I think that's the same thing. Because we're tacked with going, I think we have to say it.
Yeah.
But we're
so-
tacked with going with, and then we said we have to go with the bare minimum.
So if you have a plan for it, we don't go or it fails, then you don't have additional funding to be determined.
Yeah.
You have additional funding from here.
Yeah.
And that's the part, this is the piece that I'm missing.
Okay, I could close that gap. We reduce expenditures on an annual basis, cut into some of the services we provide our students.
I want to know what those are.
Jack, we can't say we reduce. We have to say what it is, because reducing $4 million worth on a $35 million budget is not
It's
is
not
not possible or
cutting around the
reasonable.
edges.
Now,
Okay.
the other piece of that, if it
Okay,
is,
let me
take from the
answer.
fund balance, which if that's the recommendation, rock on, that also has board action attached to it, because our policy is at 40% fund balance, so we would have to change our fund balance policy,
Exactly.
which is fine, we can do that. But, right, so like, if it's this, then rock on, but I don't wanna just say like, we cut. If it's a cut, what, how much does it save, what's the impact, cause that's
And
not
where is
all of it.
Coming from.
And
How much is in the TIF fund right now? Is that 1.3 that's in there?
I'm not, approximately, yes.
Okay, well, there's 1.3 of it. I mean, that's not, doesn't.
Approximately, and I haven't heard anyone say that that's where, that's.
Well, let's
that
figure out
number.
what that number.
We should.
Yeah, Ron
We
just
can-
said, it is, 1.3.
So-
Yes.
But the 22 million, as an example, let me just, because I think it's a valid question. It's not like, okay, we need to do that. I mean, some of those things are of the utmost urgency, like the high school roof, as an example. And there are some other projects that would fall under. But the 22 million, like, this is a non-negotiable thing that we have to spend. We, like you said, there's about a $4 million gap there. We don't have to spend that $22 million this year.
Mhm.
We could get that last $4 million over the course of a couple years, if that's the desired option.
Yeah, I want to see where it's coming from. I want to know where the additional funding is coming from. It's 1.3, if 1.3 is coming from TIF and some other is coming from fund balance changes, then fine, but let's spell it out. I really would like to see it.
Just all that said, yes, that's not the committee meeting, because that's something we've brought up as a board to say, that is, we keep talking about, we have to make this meeting of what we're really gonna cut. We need to say as a board what we are and have that conversation and say, this is a reality that could be a reality that would never pass anything. I don't think it's for the committee, it's already long. That the committee's not gonna say, I think they do weigh in as something they hear about, but I think us making those tough decisions to say, okay, we're gonna make this budget work, or we're willing to be in a deficit, or we're willing to go into our our fund balance, that's something we say, or we're willing to cut programs. I think we have to say that, but I think
Yeah.
it's back and forth. We have to know what we're working with. I think Joe's worked hard and gave us numbers that, could change, yes, but we also have to, in our scenarios, to say, hey, guys, this is what we're considering. And everybody has to hear that, and they have to hear us go through that exercise. That's,
Yes,
and with recommendations from the administration, we have to say it, like what things could look like, what we're not willing to do. We could also say we're not willing to make any cuts to programs, but what does that mean? So I think that's for us to say.
I do think there is one thing that neither the committee nor us have necessarily discussed with enough, I don't know, recency or information is our fund balance, right? So SASSET in previous years made a choice to, it was a very complicated choice, but they essentially had a fund balance when they didn't really need a fund balance. And so they made the choice to spend that fund balance down over the course of years into a more appropriate amount. And that was a board decision, but we really dove into fund balance. That's when we learned a lot about fund balance. So I think it's something that we haven't necessarily talked about is, okay, we have a fund balance, right? We have X number of dollars sitting, what is fund-based accounting, right? And because it's how we operate our schools every year. And what does it mean to decrease our fund balance? What's a realistic amount? What's oh crap? That's something that I think we haven't necessarily, the committee hasn't necessarily explored as an option. And I don't think we necessarily have is because yeah, we have a very healthy fund balance. Now, what are the impacts of that?
Mm-hmm.
Our fund balance is healthy, and that is one of the impacts on our financial ratings and scores, right? So
If you pull from that.
but that's an
Our rating will
impact.
go down.
That's an impact that we have to, our rating will go down. And what does that mean, right? Does that mean that we have a higher bonding interest rate because our rating is down, right? So because these are all not ideal options, right? However, if a roof falls down, we are going to have to change our fund balance policy and take from our fund. So let's understand I think that is one of the pieces of this, one of the money puzzle pieces that we haven't explored.
Yeah, how far can we push ourselves before we end up with receivership, for example?
I mean, there is there is a district in that.
Yeah, it can happen.
Isn't there 3?
Our superintendent, not superintendent, the helping CSBO last year. He was working with them.
Yeah.
He was working with a council.
He was
managing
it or something.
in
Yeah.
receivership, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
it goes up north, yeah.
Well,
I feel-
rare, but continue.
I feel like we have a clear handle on what we need to present on February 10th.
I feel like we need to schedule more time.
I mean,
I agree with you on that. I think we need to schedule a lot more time in our
There's nothing restricting us really.
I will be honest, there is a limit to how much effective conversation can happen. And I think that the absolute max on that is an hour and a half. So if we need to set up more time, I think that the appropriate and not even the appropriate, but frankly, the more effective way is to add a meeting as opposed to add time to it. It is also a meeting night for us as well, right? So there's just only so much that people can
Process.
talk about in a day before it just devolves into evolution.
And my
We can
comment
explore that.
was, adding more time, I think we should add
Oh,
an
yeah.
additional meeting, not have the meeting be long.
Yeah.
Not
So would this be fair to give the administration direction to go ahead and schedule an additional facilities meeting?
I think it makes sense.
I think
As
so.
much as I don't want another meeting on my calendar.
Well, what meeting do we have at the second February meeting? What policy meeting do we know? What,
I don't know, I don't have my computer.
Or is it,
what committee meeting do we
is it
have?
PR?
You're talking about the 27th?
Yes.
PR.
February.
The 24th is PR.
Sorry. The 24th is the PR meeting.
So the 10th and the 24th, PR,
No, 10th is the facilities.
10th is facilities, 24th
24th
is,
is PR.
and then we have the March finance meeting, which is for the staffing discussion, is before the 17th, which is the next meeting.
And that meeting can't be.
That
has to be that
That is
topic.
and that has to be finance. That
What-
is not.
what does the board prefer? We could not hold the PR meeting that evening and change it to a finance and facilities committee, so we have a second one.
I would say that. I feel like that is the more pressing issue than PR.
And that's kind of a PR issue anyway.
True.
So finance and facilities will replace
Okay.
the PR committee on the 24th. So we'll have, do you want to elongate the 10th meeting? A half hour.
No, I think 2 1-hour meetings is good, yeah.
So
That's my opinion.
And so canceling the PR meeting, can we have Edith and the PR team give us what direction they need via like one of our board updates or something
Sure.
from us from the PR standpoint?
and
So
get
we
that,
could,
Shannon,
we could,
please.
so
Yes.
that we don't like
Yeah, we don't want to push.
we don't want to slow down PR because they're moving a lot of stuff, but can she just find a different way to?
Yes, she doesn't need a meeting to do her work, and she can still get board input without a meeting.
So can we do that?
Yes.
Okay.
And so the 10th and the 24th will be finance and facility committee meetings for an hour.
Yep.
And we have a good list of things to present to you on the 10th.
Yeah.
I don't have to summarize that, do I?
Please.
No.
We have 3 recordings.
Please no. Okay. That's only 2 of 3. So are we good on finance and facilities
Yeah.
recap and direction? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, policy second reading. So as a reminder, we talked about policies in the last meeting. This is our second opportunity to read them and discuss them, followed by, of course, the action item to approve them tonight as per standard. So is there any discussion? Kevin, you want to?
All I want to say really is that we're following press's recommendations. There are experts that we hire to review these. They're a team of lawyers, so it's really when I thought we're following press's recommendations.
Which is the thing to do since we
Yeah.
pay them to give their advice. Yeah.
I've got nothing.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Action items. Approval of policy. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the policies as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Avia,
Yes.
Mr. Warman,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
Dr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Conover,
Yes.
Ms. Mill,
Yes.
Mr. Marin.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is the chair will entertain a motion to approve the purchase of the electronic sign from Sign Outlet utilizing the Hackbrush Trust in the amount of $47,715. I am going to ask the board if they would like to table this based on the new information about a potential restricted gift issue that we can explore.
I move to table.
Yes.
What can I ask a question for that?
Mhm.
Like, the question, I guess I don't have a question about, because we had a lovely presentation that is in our board docs about what has been spent and what it has been on. And I'll ask that with the mission that's written here and say, have we not, they said the funds are available to enhance and enrich the educational experience. There's different definitions of that people can take on, but I consider that when they gave their presentations. It's not a discussion. My question is this not an enriching and enhancing thing that we're doing? And in the presentation where they've shown what the recipients have done that. For example, a sensory room that was it was fulfilled. So has that not been done? Is that not an enriching and?
So I want to clarify my my ask about tabling it
Mhm.
is not about is it an educational piece of it? The Hackbrush Trust already went through that and said, we deem this applicable for the Hackbrush, to utilize the Hackbrush funds.
Right.
And this is, the only reason this is coming to us is because of the amount. It's not coming to us because we initiated this process. We didn't. It was initiated by staff and and they went through the Hackbrush use of funds process, which they spoke about a little bit during their discussion. And I'm not the expert in education. If the educators have decided that it does cover an educational component, I do personally think it is a stretch. However, the Hackbrush Fund and the team that manages that fund went through the process of saying it is an educational component. So the piece of it coming to us is not actually, are we deciding if it's an educational component? Are we deciding if it is are we letting the donated funds be utilized? Because it's over the X dollar amount. So I'm asking about the restricted gift piece of it from a legal standpoint, if there is some restricted gift issue that we have not looked at or not vetted to make sure that we're covered from that legal side of it that's tied into it. So I'm not asking about like the
Should we
approval of
ask,
it.
has that been reviewed?
Well, I think if we need to ask that, then we need to table this.
I'm not asking.
Yeah.
So,
So do we want to,
I would like to table it and look into it before we.
because that was not my question when they presented it. But we can vote.
Do we need to have a motion to table?
Yes.
yeah?
Can we get clarity on this?
Yeah.
What, because I mean, if this gives the board some, comfort, we can investigate this issue and then come to some kind of conclusion at the February meeting, get you a solid answer on this between now and then.
Yeah, I
The
think,
specific issue is, is it a restricted gift issue?
Mhm.
That's the question.
That's the question.
I'll tell you, yeah, we'll get after that.
so let's vet it. That is the only piece of technically new information. So let's vet it and make sure.
Is this coming to the board for a vote because they had thought it was gonna be $45,000 and it went over by 2,000?
No.
It's on there as 47.
No.
No,
Their
it's
presentation
coming
is
to the
Okay.
board because it is over the purchase threshold. So while
Any staff purchase over
period
needs
comes to us.
be
So regardless of
approved.
where the funds come from, the funds are being paid by the district, even though they're not the Hackbrush Trust. Like the district writes the check, even though the Hackbrush Trust
But
is.
isn't that the whole point of the board approving it? Is it illegal?
Yeah. no,
It's keeping like the district from spending it or accepting it itself. That we have the set amount that the board approves. That's not the illegal part, that there's a certain amount that is accepted. I've not heard of that, so that's why that's not my question. That question was, does it come to the board? Because they have a set amount that it comes to the board for. And we are to approve that. I don't think there's and when I say that I don't think there's a legal issue with that. But that's a thing. So,
I think there's enough question as to whether or not there's a legal issue that it deserves to be tabled so that we can get clarity on the issue.
because that's all donations that this district has had. And if there wasn't a question then, why is it a question now? I'm just saying. So,
But to be clear, the presentation that they gave us, I'm looking right at it, it's in the docs. The total sign project is for 47.7. Like they projected that at that price when they presented it at the last meeting. So there hasn't been a change in price.
To be fair, because that's the direction the board goes in, I think I have a clear handle on this question, but I am not does the board have a real clear handle on what exactly is being questioned?
I guess it would be a general question about donations then.
So we would ask legal counsel if approving this expenditure is within our jurisdiction and no jeopardy for some kind of violation of donations or tax codes.
I think it's a restricted, so I think that it's a more specific question. It's whether or not the wording of the trust language is a restricted donation, which requires different handling than the way that we're handling this right now. Because when I read this mission statement, it says the trust allows for funding of projects that encourage creativity, innovation, and excellence. This sign does not encourage
Yes, it
creativity.
does
That's-
encourage,
that's
that's
your
not, it
subjective
does,
analysis.
yes, right. It
That's your
encourages
subjective
excellence.
analysis.
Right,
Because
right,
it
but,
displays multiple things that goes on.
but the question is, when you read that to a lawyer, is a lawyer gonna
No,
interpret
that's
that
not
as
our
being
question. Our
restricted?
question is not how it's being used. It's, is this donation in our, exactly what you said. I'm not gonna question definitions and what is excellence and what is not, because we have to look at everything that was given from HackBrooks. I have a question if that's a set amount each year. So I think we have to answer the question you said, you had, Jeff, is this within our jurisdiction if there is any amount that has to go to a different approval for gifts? Is there something else that we should be doing here that we're not applying now and we can't definitively say now? So we answered that question. We're not answering definitions, and we have, like you, Leah said, we have educators that
Yeah.
So the,
have gone through this process already,
Right.
so.
Can I just, there was an application that went to the Hackbrush Trust that was approved by the Hackbrush Trust.
yes,
And so why would we not be able to
So this-
accept
Yeah.
an approved donation from the Hackbrush Trust?
And trustees.
In-
by
so the
definition.
Hackbrush Trust and the Hackbrush trustees are the ones who decide if it follows,
And they have
the
deemed that
criteria.
it does.
they have deemed that it does.
So why would we
And so then the
not be
reason
able
it comes to
accept
us is
it?
just because the amount, because wasn't started by us, it was started by the Hackbrush Trust. And so the question of if it's a restricted gift from a legal or an IRS standpoint,
What does a restricted gift
well, I think that's
mean?
part of,
And why was it a question last year?
Why would it be a question?
yes.
So we spent money and we accepted money last year. It wasn't.
So
I don't know the amounts
So-
offhand, but
See, I just want to be able to get a clear answer. This has been vetted by the attorneys, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And it is a little vague on both ends. I mean, the language itself is not definitive. And the whole question about, is this an educational value, is subjective.
But I'm not worried about that because we didn't make that decision. That was not a board decision. That was the trust decision. They decided that. My question is, what does this mean? The legal terms of the restricted gift. That's all I want to know is, are we
Yeah,
in any way violating that? If we aren't, great, accept the gift. We didn't
we don't have to
decide that.
define.
What question
not
are
up
we
to
asking?
us.
What question are we
Exactly
asking the
what
attorneys?
What is this considered a
So-
restricted?
only the donor can restrict the gift. The nonprofit board, which is us, cannot unilaterally designate a fund as restricted. So it's the donor that determines, it's not the board that's receiving the funds that determines whether it's restricted or not.
Then why do we have to vote on it?
So angry. It's because of
It's
the
because
amount
we
of
write the
expenditure.
check. After reading
Yeah.
what I'm reading and understanding what a restricted gift is, I'm ready to vote on this tonight personally.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to table this. I think it's pretty clear.
And
That's my
what is
personal opinion.
clear? Can you-
It's clear that the idea of a restricted gift is the onus is on the donor. In this case, it's the Hackbrush Trust that is donating this money to the district. And to answer your question, because we have to write the check from the district, this board legally has to vote on approval of that check.
That's writing the check.
That's it. We're not approving whether they've made the right determination as to what these funds can be used for. That's their decision to make. All we're doing is saying, yep, write the check. That's all we're saying. And so,
We're front the money so they can give their donation later.
We're not
So-
even fronting it.
We're not
We're just
fronting.
writing the check.
So I mean,
So do we have the money or not? Is the money in our funds or is it?
It's a donation. It's not been generated by taxpayer dollars, but it's district funds because anything that comes through is district funds. It wasn't generated by taxpayers, it was a donation. Just to be as transparent as possible, I mean, is a signboard promoting excellence? Is it of educational value? That is a subjective decision.
and one
That's not.
that's been made by the trustees of the Hackbush.
By
That's
the people who run it, yeah.
That's a determination that they have made. It's not a determination that we are voting on or that we are making. Just so it's really crystal clear.
We did pass this by the attorneys, and I'm gonna tell you, they gave it a green light, but it wasn't like, it's not definitive in nature, it is subjective. I would agree with that. I don't wanna go down that road somewhere. But
Again, I think it's simply, I didn't do the approval process, so that's not, if there's a complaint that needs to go out to the Hackbush and they can complain to the trustees that accepted this form of giving money, it goes to them. I'm saying thank you for your gift. Thank you, I feel privileged. And if you deem us worthy of having that, I accept.
Okay, so I think here's where we're at. We have two options. We can take action on this tonight, or we can table it. And I'm sorry, Alex, can you restate? Because you said it best and I don't want to restate.
I was just wondering what that was.
Restricted gift.
The restricted gift. I didn't know what that was, and so I wanted to be clear if we were violating that in any way.
So, so we can take action on it tonight, or we can table it to ask for clarification from the lawyers on what the restricted gift is,
I mean, from
on
what,
what a restricted
Yeah.
gift is.
essentially, does this
essentially.
qualify as a restricted gift?
Yes, and it's not about, we're not tabling it to get more information on why it was approved, because the trust approved it. They already said they have determined that it meets the
I mean, but I'm
requirements.
with Carlos now that I
So,
correct what it is, I can vote.
so if we're gonna go around the room and sort of straw poll this thing, I'll just say, look,
Straw poll the table.
yeah, just if we want to do that, I'll start and I'll say, look, I have no doubt where this ends up when we do consult. I have no doubt where it ends up. It ends up back at this board, at the next board meeting as an agenda item that we will either vote to approve or not approve. Each individual will make their decision. But that we could vote on it tonight is not a question that I have in my head. If someone wants to wait another 2 weeks until we get clarification on this so we can approve or disapprove of this, fine by me. We can wait 2 weeks.
So straw poll. Wait, the first thing is, are we
I'm fine with
voting
whatever.
today or tabling?
I'll vote today.
I'll vote today. I'll vote in 2 weeks.
Same.
I'll vote today.
I think it should be tabled.
I'll vote today.
I can't math right now. That was 3 vote today, 2 either, and 1 vote. Did that math just come up together?
You know what? Let's
It's
just
full.
take, out of just
Yeah, pure
Here,
curious. Let's just
let's
table it. Let's just
table
table it
it
till 2
for-
weeks from now.
2 weeks. Easy.
Signs don't matter.
Four.
Signs can wait 2 weeks.
It's fine.
It's not the roof.
It's not the roof.
Okay,
Just to clarify, it was 4 for table.
that's 4 for tabling. Okay.
No, it's, I'm sorry. It's 4 for vote.
But we can motion to table, right? That's,
We can go around again,
In the,
because it was 4 for vote today. But let's clarify what you're.
I
well,
vote-
either way.
I say we
Vote.
table it. I say we table it.
What do you say?
I move that we table this.
Yeah. Table, that's fine.
I stand by what I say we vote today.
Let's just get clarification. I'm fine with that tabling it.
I'm fine with tabling it. It's not gonna change my decision.
Yeah.
Do I have to ask a specific motion, but there's no action, like,
We're just removing an
Right.
action item from the
Yeah,
agenda.
they basically removed it from the,
so I'm entertaining a motion to remove the,
No, pretty
I
much
don't
already
think,
voted.
it's
You're
done.
It's
We're
done.
done. We don't have to, we're removing an action item from the agenda. It's fine.
okay. What, Ron? Do you have legal requirements for me?
Thought it was a motion to table.
Well, we already have a motion to table and I second it.
And we straw polled witches votes also. Okay, cool.
You don't need the roll call on that one.
No.
You just did it.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, moving right along, approval of the Westmont High School student early graduation. The chair will entertain a motion to approve student X's early graduation from Westmont High School. So I want to be very clear that what we are approving today is a one-time exception to the existing policy for early graduation. Our existing early graduation policy essentially allows a student to graduate one semester early. The student is asking to graduate 1 year early, so 2 semesters early, for extreme and unique extenuating circumstances that are out of the students and our control. And so again, we are not changing the early graduation requirement. The early graduation policy will still stand at 1 semester. It is utilized with some amount of regularity and success and a lot of success. But that will stay the same. We are approving a one-time exception for this student. Okay, so the chair will entertain that motion to approve student X's early graduation from Westmont High School.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
Dr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Conover,
Yes.
Ms. Mill,
Yes.
Mr. Marin,
Yes.
Mr. Avia,
Yes.
Mr. Orman.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, superintendent's report.
We started the second semester strong. We had our all-district meeting last week. We really emphasized not just a celebration of some extraordinary accomplishments, but a need to continuously improve the work that we've done and keep the students at the center of what we are doing. The major focal areas remain, developing compassionate human beings who give back to this world is our priority. Using our efforts to make sure the students are present in our classrooms so they can maximize their learning. We looked at the data that says we're in the top 1% of the state when it comes to the chronic absenteeism, which is a source of pride, but we need to continuously work on that. And the whole team is dedicated to that, and talk to our students at grade level meetings, every grade level from K through 12, reach out to parents and tell them it's so important to have our students here, that our community supports excellence in education and take advantage of that. The growth that we have in student learning is tremendous, but it's not guaranteed. We have to continuously sharpen the saw. So we talked about that. Continuous improvement model, teamwork, collaboration is our goal. And we're confident that we're monitoring our student progress on a daily basis to ensure excellence and that the teams are learning from each other. It's very powerful. And that is our mission always, but especially in the second semester, keep monitoring our work for our students and for our community. And including the students at the center of that and having them be partners, not something that happens to them, that happens with them. And all students are sacred. Every single student in this district, the ones who are struggling, the ones who have challenges, every student is sacred to us. And I'm very proud of our team and our students for the work they do on a daily basis. On a supportive note, on February the 3rd, there is the DuPage division of IASB, and there's a meeting, and Carlos and Leah and I attended that at the previous meeting, but we'd love to have other board members join us if you can on February 3rd. It starts at 5:30. 6 o'clock dinner, and a 7:15 presentation by Dr. Tony Sanders, who's the state superintendent. And he knows 201 very well. He's visited us on several occasions in the past year, but he will be doing a presentation. So any board members who can attend, we would love to have you there. If you could please let Shannon know and let myself know, and then I'm going to attend the dinner. It's February 3rd, Starts at 5:30, dinner at 6, presentation at 7:15, should be done at 8. It's a great way to connect and be aware of the work of IASB.
Are you guys set to go?
Carlos?
I'm going.
So I'm not able to go. I was gonna talk about it in my board report, but I'll just, is it okay if I jump ahead of it?
Of course, yeah.
All right, so, yeah, I'm not able to go. I'm away on a business trip and, but I want to encourage everyone, especially the new board members here, to take this opportunity to go. If you, two of you joined after the tri-conference, and this is like a mini tri-conference, right? And it's an opportunity to understand how other boards function and network a little bit, hear from other, have colleagues outside of just this board here. It's a little bit of an investment in time. It's a mere 15 minutes away from here, but it is your evening. I will say that. That's true. And then, and also that, like, it doesn't. In the past, I went to one, and then Jack and Leah joined me at a recent one. But the truth is, when you go to these things, it's usually districts either have almost their entire board there, including, their superintendent, or like nobody from the district goes. And I really would like us to be the kind of district that shows up for things like this. So I'm asking you as a personal favor on this board to make the time to get there if you can. So
Where is it at?
Willowbrook High School. It's, like I said, it's a 15-minute drive from downtown Westmont. So, and maybe you can carpool if enough of y'all go.
So we have any other communications from your end, Jack?
No.
No? Okay. Board reports. Carlos already gave his. I'm going to give mine. Carlos and I met with our Alana to talk about our board retreat. Thank you, Adina. You're used to working at night. To talk about and plan our board retreat, which is essentially all of our next meeting. So this just came to mind. Is it possible for everybody to be here at 6 o'clock for the next meeting instead of 6:30?
I can, yes.
Okay.
So we'll put out a message tomorrow
Yeah.
at the meeting starting at 6.
Can we do that? Yeah, so that it'll very likely be 6 to 9. We'll take the whole evening. We'll have a working dinner. So we'll go through our procedures. Arlana's got some good stuff. And it's really about like how we as a board interact, how we interact with the administration, how the administration interacts with us, and really kind of setting our precedent. So it's going to be a great meeting, and it will be incredibly informative. The vast majority of it will be in closed session. We will basically do an open and consent agenda, and then we will go into closed for really all of it. Yeah.
And one action item.
And potentially one action item, which
This
we
is
will put
the-
before we go to
I just
close.
put my calendar, sorry.
Yes. Boy,
Yes.
we worked really hard to make sure there were no action items on that.
It should be 14 days from now, yeah, 27.
So we did move that facilities and finance meeting that was originally scheduled for next week so that we can really focus. This is critically important, and with 3 brand new board members, it's just, it's a real moment, and it's a really important, it's a very important time for us to come together and decide how we act as a team. So,
Couldn't
yeah,
come at a better time.
yes. So any other board reports?
The only thing I want to say, high school NHS is having a blood drive on January 15th. It's from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. unfortunately, just during the school day. So look at social media to find that and register if possible.
I have one question. What time is the committee meeting on the 10th?
5:30 to 6:30. Okay, moving on to future, we have no public comment. So moving on to future meetings and events, no school on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, January 19th. South has its school family night right here at South School, January 20th from 5 to 6 p.m. Our next board meeting is January 27th. It will be 6 o'clock at Village Hall, and that's all I've got for future meetings and events. There's no other current information.
Can I clarify? So the retreat is not here, it's after the 12th.
It is at Village Hall.
Okay.
And Shannon is double checking with them, whatever.
So.
Yeah, no, we talked about we're just at Village Hall. Yeah. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the January 13th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.